So, welcome everybody to this episode of the Frame Podcast. I didn't think we were going to make this episode, to be honest. I didn't think we would want to make this episode, but there's just nothing going on at the moment. And just all the stuff going on with stuff in America, and there just isn't anything else to talk about. And we're just a bit upset, so we just thought we'd share our opinions. So, got Femi and Dewan here as usual, just with me, and yeah, just thought I'd get your guys' take on what the hell is going on with the world at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's all where it started was a poor young guy who's George Floyd being killed by a police officer, and the way he obviously got murdered, I would use the word, is so unfortunate that it could have ended in so many different ways, and we wouldn't have been this situation that America's facing. Obviously, this situation where the campaign starting with the Black Lives Matter. Now today there's this sort of blackout Tuesday going on, and things are unfortunately gone to an area where these protests are starting to get violent, and then you got someone at the top who's unfortunately not listening. If the thing is, if the person Donald Trump started listening to these people and reacted in a much more respectful and a mannered way, I don't think this situation would escalate to the point where people will be starting riots and fighting and things like that. And things that you're seeing online as well, like certain videos like the Umbrella Man. It's quite disgusting, to be honest.
Yeah, that is very true, actually, because it's like, to me, it seems as if obviously the leader that's currently obviously Donald Trump is not playing his role very, very well. It's not coming up as empathy, or as the word empathy. I can't even pronounce the word properly, but it's not coming. Yes, that's the word. It's not coming across as that. So people do feel like no one is listening. And obviously I've been on YouTube, and I've just been looking around and just been seeing like different videos and what's going on. And I can't remember, there was this particular video that I saw of where one of the policemen or whatever decided to take off his gear and take off his arm, his protective gear, his baton, everything, took it off and actually joined the peaceful protest to just show that actually we're all human here. We're not, we might be, obviously due to our jobs, we might have different roles, but when everything comes down to it, we're actually all just human that just wanna live our life and just live, basically. So it is very unfortunate, all the stuff that's happening, how peaceful protests are becoming more violent. And to me, it seems as if it keeps going this route, the message that they're trying to get across, unarmed civilians and stuff like that, it will get lost. And by the end of everything, all this protest will be for nothing. And to me, it seems as if people were fighting the wrong battle. Like, we're fighting the wrong battle. Like, the way people are going about it, obviously everyone have in mind that we need to make it peaceful and everything, and that should be the way it should be, so the message doesn't get lost. But the way it's turning out, and the way what Donald Trump has said is that he's gonna introduce the military. And if you introduce the military, that's literally introducing martial law in a country, basically. And once that's introduced, the entire message that they're trying to get across will be gone, and basically all this will be for waste. And it's a shame that it seems to be going that way, and it's really a shame. Even all the news, what the news now are talking about is not necessarily the fact that what the protest is about. It's more about how the protest is becoming violent and becoming more about looting and stuff. So you can already sort of see that the message that the protest is initially trying to bring across is slowly getting lost. And eventually, to me, it seems as if nothing is going to change. That's what it seems like to me anyway. So yeah, what are you guys thinking?
Hopefully, things will change, and but it's just exactly like you're saying. The focus from the media is trying to, take away, as they usually do as well with protests. They
Yeah.
always try to look for more negative aspects. Like for example, the COVID situation. All the negativity about it, rather than let's listen to those who actually faced the virus and recovered from it, and how they recovered from it, and ways that they can prevent themselves getting that virus. But they weren't doing it. They were just tackling and saying, "Oh, you're going to die. That's it. Stay at home." But once you get the virus, you're dead. There is no hope. Rather than there is, there is a other side to the virus and things like that. And this is, I'm not trying to compare the two, obviously, but the way things are going in America, obviously with the virus, we had the 2 astronauts who left this planet probably for the good reasons. It was more of a positive thing, but when they do come back, I don't know what sort of planet it will turn into. Going to exist with the way things are going, but the situation, obviously, with the Black Lives Matter is quite scary to be in that situation. I mean, black people, or people just in general, have faced racism, have faced this sort of situation. For example, outside of just black, but obviously someone like who's Kurdish. Yesterday in Turkey, a gentleman just had a balcony, was playing some sort of Kurdish music. 3 Turkish men knocked on his door, asked him to come out, just to bring him out of the home. He goes out, and then he gets stabbed to death just because he's Kurdish and he's listening to Kurdish music. This sort of diversity and this racism has been going on for probably more than centuries, obviously, and it's just that we're in a point that we've had enough. People say, we're sick and tired of this situation, of hearing the repetitive racism rants, but it is there. It does exist. We do want it to end, because if we don't, the thing is, in the future, in 20 years' time, that multiculturalism around be so much that it will end, but it will can't end, obviously, to that level, but it will go, but to a level you can't do it now, because the human mind, to do that, you have to change the person's perspective of seeing things. The media's perspective,
man,
it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah, man, the media is a huge part of the problem, I find. It's like there's do you know what's good about at least this generation compared to, say, like the 1980s or where this happened before? Because in America, this isn't, a lot of people know from the poorer neighborhoods, this has been happening for a long time. This isn't anything new, but we're getting video footage finally from the position. I think part of it as well, there's a load of factors that are going into these riots for me. One of them, I think, this is a conspiracy theory, I think, but I think it's kind of true. They've done it before. They've been planting people, police officers, within certain environments to go and trash them, to go and trash the environment, so that they can go look at these bad people, instead of saying the message of, these people are doing bad things, so look at these looters. So we have to respond with violence. There's that. There's there's all sorts of videos that are coming out of police doing bad stuff, even now to protest, to even peaceful protesters, and it's just awful. I think you're seeing all sorts of videos online now, and again, these voices wouldn't be heard 20, 30, 40 years ago. So at least we've got that. The whole thing started is because the Aubrey, I forgot his name is now, but the guy that was jogging, which I think we'll talk about in a couple more weeks podcast as well, when that happened, and with just stuff in general, this is just all you would have thought as a police force, right? If something happens to you've seen this case, Aubrey case, and people have gone, this isn't right, then just a week later, not even a week later, this George Floyd thing. So people are angry. There's that. There's the fact that the economy, stock market wise, they've been bailed out. So they're currently doing the best that they've ever done, whilst all these Americans are being made unemployed. And they say, here's a $1,200
pound check for that $1,200 stimulus check, which won't do really anything. If it was kept the same and kept up with inflation, whatever, it would be about 12 grand. There's all sorts of problems that are happening. People are pushed against the wall and they're going, what do we do? And there's stories like, if you listen to people that have gone to jail and stuff, the people are on their last legs and they feel like they're going to die. They turn into animals and they go and do stupid things. They don't know they just don't know where to go because they've been pushed so far back. With all the police officers, yes, there's good police officers, but if they're not calling out the bad police officer, going, they're not part of us, just as that's the same thing that the Muslim community get told to do. They get told to this person is part of your community. You need to tell them what they don't have to justify that. They have to justify that. But then when the police officer does something bad, they don't have to justify it, let alone go to jail when this person was designed to protect you. There's all sorts of problems. It's multifaceted, but I tell you what, there's all sorts of good videos coming out of this as well. There's people that are trying to riot, and there's black people from these neighborhoods that are going, listen, don't break our shops. Don't break our shops. Don't come here. And there's a lot of mixed information, but a lot of people they're saying that are coming from out of city as well. So they're coming from other places to come in and destroy these places. So it's a tough one, man. There's so much going on, and that's the thing. At least we've got the other side of it, where we're seeing people recording and live videos, and they're live streaming it to Facebook or whatever, and sharing them, so that this information is getting out there eventually from the perspective of a normal person, not just from a police officer or a government official, because they're all in bed together.
Yeah, that's true. I do feel like that's why I said, going back to what I said earlier, that it seems as if people are fighting the wrong people. Like the people that we should be facing, or the people that we should be, are the people at the very high, the people at the high up, at the top, basically, because they're the one that makes all the laws, all the rules, everything. So imagine, like, even all the people that are planted within these protests to obviously make it to become, violent. It's all set up from the people at the top. They're the one that would obviously push this agenda to obviously introduce something different, or to turn something that would be peaceful into something that's violent, obviously, so they can obviously have an excuse in order for them to enact what they want to do, or enact their plan, or whatever. So the fact that all we're just simply doing is we're just fighting amongst ourselves, basically. We're fighting amongst ourselves while the people at the very top just simply use us as pawns, basically, and just use us to do whatever they want us to do. If obviously, and it's just the fact that we humans we can't see that, and the fact that we can't see it is what continues this cycle of hatred, jealousy, things that we don't necessarily need to, that we don't necessarily even need to feel, So like for example, like that, like the police dude now, like the fact that obviously if a policeman commits murder, instead of them to be charged with murder and obviously go through instead of them to be charged with the law that any normal civilians would be charged against, the fact that that ain't happening is obviously coming from the very top. It's coming from the very, very top. The people at the top they have the right to make that law and make that change and say, okay, look, you've just killed someone in broad daylight. You need to pay the price, and that's when to put you in prison. But they're not making that law. They're not making that change. And even although all this rioting is going on, I can bet you that won't still happen. They might just put the main guy that obviously put the guy that actually put his knee on the neck. They might put that on in prison just to appease people. But I feel like it will still happen. It will still happen. It's not. It won't change. I can 100 times I can say it won't change, because this is not the first time a riot has happened for this, and most likely it probably won't be the last, because it seems to be like it's a game. It's a game, because I saw like videos of them saying that I can't remember in one of the cities in America they've already planted bricks. This is how. These are
Oh,
This is how they normally work. Like they already planted bricks already, like literally. There was in one of the cities in America that they're writing now. There was prior to the protest, there was neatly placed bricks just there. No one knew how it got there. No one knew why it's there. It's just there. And they were already, and people were like saying, wait, why are these bricks here? Why are these bricks here? Later on to find out that actually those bricks were just nicely placed there in order for some people to pick up and throw to obviously break
Yeah.
glasses and
I saw
ruin
the
buildings and stuff.
they were placing, so, and they
Yeah.
weren't like one or two on the floor. They were stacks. Like someone had to bring it via lorry. You can't actually bring it by one or two people. It was stacks of bricks. You could even create a house with it. You know, that's the amount of bricks that there were. And I remember that that article that they were saying, why are these left here? What are you trying to impose over here? Are you trying to get us to exactly that? Use it or get or just like the umbrella man who was paid by as you guys were as the footage I saw, breaking windows, being used by the police to make and all covered up in sort of black clothes and black face mask that you can't recognize what color this guy is, and he's sort of breaking windows of all the shops, like one by one, and people trying to, all the black people trying to come, or whoever part of the protest is trying to come over and say, look, man, you need to stop this. This is not right. It's crazy how they try to exactly that, try to plant these sort of areas with people to make the protest look so bad that Donald Trump or the president to say, actually, we're gonna have to use they're using force against us. Now we have to use force by using the military to shoot back. That's obviously that's going to be catastrophe.
Exactly. And then exactly. And from that, what happens? Nothing happens. No change happens because of the initial message that was supposed to be sent from that protest is completely now disregarded because they've planted stuff in there to turn the protest from a peaceful protest into a riot. And what happens? The cycle continues. We give it a few months again, somebody else gets killed, people get angry, but obviously they realize that we've just had a protest, we've just had a riot, nothing changed. So what are we going to do now? What we're just going to do now is sit down, be quiet, and let it happen like how we've always done. And the cycle repeats itself. It's sad, but the thing is, instead of us to be protesting, the people we should be going to are the people at the top. The people, the politicians, the shadow governments, all of them. I don't even want to name drop one of them, but there's a particular person that usually tends to fund these Antifa groups. And if you do your research, you'll find out who that particular person is that tend to fund these Antifa groups. The people that tend to turn protest into a violent riot is there. Those are the people should be going to. People should actually be like protesting against, because they're the people that literally ruin peace, that take out peace, that just cause division. Because all what that's happening now, it's not new. It's been written. All these conspiracy theories and everything that's now becoming true, if you go all the way to the back, if you actually go do the research, you'll find that there was a time when they were talking about how are we gonna introduce like martial law in America? How are we gonna do it? In order for us to do this, we need to between two groups, cause them to clash, and then once they clash, we introduce martial law, and that's how we do it. And initially they tried doing it with religion, Christianity and Muslim, but that didn't work. So what's the next best thing that we can do it with? White and black. Let's let them clash. And the problem is what's going on right now it's obviously it is a race thing. There's institutional racism, all those kind of racism that's in the system that's also been created by the people at the top, not created by your next door neighbor, not created by your work colleague. No, none of them have a clue what's going on. The people at the very top, whose generations and generation have built this system in such a way that's got everyone in prison, shackled down. Those are the people that we should be getting angry at and actually be frustrated with. Not our neighbor, not our fellow like neighbor. No one, everyone just wants to live their own life, you know. But it's just a problem that the system has got to change. And it's just that obviously people are benefiting from that system, and the people at the very top are benefiting from it because the fact that we're all divided, we can be easily controlled. Right now, we're trying to pass on the message. They're trying to pass on the message. People are protesting to pass on the message. That message will now be forgotten because it's turned violent. And now they can introduce the martial law. If once Donald Trump sends an army, that's martial law. Now it would become okay for an army to come in if anyone is protesting. It would become a norm. That's how and it's just crazy to see all this go down, and there is really nothing we do about it apart from just let it happen. Really, it's just
it's scary if it gets to a point like that where it's, you know, they bring in, as you're saying, you know, the martial law, and then, you know, the military comes into play, and then, you know, probably if the military do come in play, I hope not. You know, my assumption is wrong, but maybe there will be further violence, and then those violence turns into exactly what you were saying, that, you know, the message brought across to, you know, in terms of the purpose of this protest was to obviously stop this. You know, we had enough. We don't want this to continue. And all of a sudden, due to the violence, you know, we go back to the way it was last week, where obviously with George Floyd, you know, it keeps on happening again with the next black person. Like Neil was mentioning, the jogger, who Ahmed, I can't remember his name exactly, but I think it was Arbery.
Something like that.
Who unfortunately, you know, was drugging, and I think 2 or 3 white men, you know, beating him to death, and that's, you know, it's a very very horrific sort of incident, and watching it from the video, I wish I didn't. Is so scary that, you know, these things have been happening, and it's not, you know, it hasn't been happening just this year. It hasn't happened last year. We've had, you know, King fighting for it, Malcolm X. We've had all these people fighting over it. They've even been assassinated. And, you know,
and do you know why they've been assassinated?
Yeah.
Because sorry to cut you off, Duan, but you know, when you say obviously Martin Luther King and all of them has been assassinated.
Yeah.
Why? Because people like Martin Luther King and everything, who actually was making a change, who was actually disturbing the system, the people at the top had to get rid of him, because if he was there, the institutionalized racism would not be there. And then if the institutionalized racism isn't there, then neighbors won't hate each other. White and black won't feel hatred towards it. People will not hate each other because everyone will know that in the end, we're all just simple humans. And obviously the system that's been made, the system that we're currently living in, cannot work if we're all getting along. It cannot work. The few won't be able to control the many if everyone is working together. You know, if everyone is working together, like imagine in an office now, the last place I was working in, we're about 20.
Yeah.
20 there, and we've got the manager and the team leader. In order for those people to have control of 20 of us, what needs to happen? There needs to be division. There needs to everyone within the group, everyone within the group needs to be divided. We need to be stabbing each other in the back. We need to be talking behind each other. We need to try and trip up each other in order for the manager, the team leader, and all of that to be able to keep control of everyone else. We all need to not get along. And that's literally the same system that's also happening in the current society. And that's why you have freaking, you have like just the controls the entire mass, who owns like freaking 99% of the planet wealth. Imagine that. It's mad. It's sorry, the one. You can continue what you're saying. I just get
no, you don't say sorry, man. It's an exact point that when those guys got assassinated, what did the presidents do then? They didn't continue the movement and say, okay, we're hearing you at the time, and say, we're hearing about what your points are. We respect it, and we're trying to make a change for you guys. They didn't. They just ignored them. And then the riots obviously ended with violence and stuff like that. And then what they let it continue. And then now in 2020, instead of things evolving into a more neutral point, there is still this enough is enough. We're still in the same era. And then you've got, someone like George Floyd, obviously, who got killed. And then, you got the president here who's just trying to say, well, we're going to actually shoot the protesters. I mean, what do you say? I mean, what do you do to because he's the guy at the top, okay? The election's not going to be so soon with the situation we're in, obviously, in America, with obviously not just the protest, but the virus, the hacks going on with Anonymous, and now you're in an area where you're trying to pass a message which is very simple to understand. Even a 10-year-old would understand it. But that person that you want to listen to you is trying to ignore you and trying to, it's like you're talking to the detective police officer and say, at the time where he's trying to kill George Floyd and has his knee on him, and say, look, man, stop. All right, just stop what you're doing. You're hurting the guy. Can't you just stop? And you've already handcuffed him. Just back off. But what is he doing? He'll get a gun and shoot him in the head. Like, what the hell's going on here, man? I'm trying to, we're trying to tell you to stop doing what you're doing, but at the end of the day, you're still getting, escalating to a more violent situation. And this is why these people are so angry, because no one's listening. That's where we're at.
Yeah, man. I think there's a couple of things as well that I want to bring it back to. So I know Femi talked about Martin Luther King. So there was something that obviously everybody knows. Oh, yeah, black people, they gave them equal rights and stuff like that, and it's brilliant. And it was so funny, actually. I was listening to an interview with Killer Mike and Bernie Sanders. Really, really good interview that was before when he was going to run for president. And he was talking about Bernie Sanders, is a guy that ran for office. Unfortunately, didn't get in. Came to like the last 2 or 3 people to run for the Democratic Party, but he actually marched with Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and stuff like that. Really interesting. And he goes, because after that happened, he sat down. Martin Luther King goes, "I freed the slave. We got equal votes and stuff," and everybody applauded him, going, "Oh, well done, you've done something equal." And he sat down in his community, and he looks around, and he goes, exactly what you're saying. He goes, looks around, he goes, "How can I be free? How can I sit back and say this is a positive thing when I'm seeing the white neighbors going through the same stuff as me?" He goes, now it's not about race. Now we've equated ourselves to the white people. Now we've got to liberate everybody. We've got to liberate the poor. We've got to ask for a universal basic income, especially in these times. He goes, and then that's the only way we can really free ourselves, if we free ourselves financially, and that's the issue. So a lot of people know about, obviously he did a load of stuff for black people in America, but where he was murdered was on this march. He was assembling all the poor people from all around the country, essentially, to get together in one place and go, we're gonna do this for everybody. But the thing is, it wasn't taught to us. Oh, and then he died. Then he was assassinated. Not where, not why, not how. Again, this comes from our school system, guys. I remember, like, we were learning about, obviously you learn about Malcolm. We didn't learn about, I don't know about you guys, but did you learn about Malcolm X in history?
Not as much as Martin.
Not as much, yeah.
Dude, so we were told we don't talk about Malcolm X because Malcolm X promotes violence. So I was told that from like 15 years old. So at university, we used to talk like this and stuff like that. So I think, I can't remember who it was. It was one of our friends was mentioning him. So I was like, I'll go and listen to a couple of interviews. Now with the internet and everything, you can hear the words from his mouth, what he was saying. And he never said violence is the issue. He goes, violence, if somebody comes and attacks you, you have to defend yourself. You've got a right as a human being, if somebody attacks you, to defend yourself. And therefore, that was taken to white people as they're going to attack us. And it's the same issue that was happening with there's a video that was put out recently where they're saying the same thing is happening since the 60s and before, where these interviews have come out and they go, that's not what we're saying. We're saying if somebody comes and attacks you, we have every right to say every right to defend ourselves, every right, not hurt you, but defend ourselves. And that was taken as a threat to the system. And again, back to the Martin Luther King thing, where it was like, this guy was murdered, but nobody was. We just don't get told these things in school. And there's the systemic racism right there. The Malcolm X thing, we weren't taught about that. It was just about he's a bad person for saying violence. Then when I actually looked into it, I was angry, man, because if I was lived in America and I was told, hold on, I'm not allowed to learn about this person, for what reason? And then I went round for about 5-7 years, thinking, yeah, we don't learn about him because he's bad. And I'm just like, man, this is mess. And this is just it's crazy that this is the thing. And I was talking to I've spoke to other people, bringing back for the UK. I've been blessed enough to meet people from other countries, and now I've people from Australia, Singapore, where they were saying the way that you run your stuff, even in England, is so behind. You don't teach people, you just stuff it down their throat that we are the elite class. And it's the same. And again, we're not saying that America's bad or whatever. We have the same bloody problems here. They're just more well hidden. And especially with the way that the media is reporting at the moment, it's like that's the problem that happens over there in America. It doesn't happen over here, where we know damn well it happens over here as well. So it's not just, we're not saying that over there that's the issue, which even the British media would like to pretend and paint. It's an issue that's happening here as well. And look at what's happening with, I forgot the name of it now, where they're sending people back to the Caribbean. I forgot what it was called.
Is it the Windrush?
Windrush, that's it. I had raindrop, and I was like, it's not raindrop, it's something similar. I couldn't remember it. But yeah, the same thing. So we've got the institutionalized racism and stuff here, and it might spread over to here as well, because unfortunately it happens here as well. So we're just feeling that pain from across the seas, but it comes from that same background. Because you got to remember that even though they fought against the British or whatever, there's still, after going there and coming here, there is still a connection between that's why we have a special relationship. It works multiple ways, not just in terms of trade and in terms of we'll go to war whenever you go to war, whatever, and we'll invade countries that don't have nothing to do with any war. That's the issue, that we've got that relationship with them. So them powers are affecting over here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that obviously how, as you said, that obviously what's happening in America also happens here. That's very true, because it's just that obviously with Britain or in England, it's just more well hidden and more passive. Basically, it's not as in your face as it is over in America, and it's a shame, really. It's a shame, and it's because of it's been intertwined into the system so much. As you said, it's been intertwined in the schools, it's been intertwined in the media, it's been intertwined in just common entertainment, it's been intertwined everywhere, that it's almost impossible to come out of it. And in order to come out of it, everyone needs to be together. And the very few that has created this system knows that if everyone is together, then yes, it's very easy. We can come out of it. But the fact that they know that they create divisions, so we can't. So we create divisions between us. So we will not be able to come out of this system that's so corrupt, that just eats away at people. Because imagine if, like, in the media, just the media itself, you ever notice when how they stereotype people. Let's say if it's a robbery that's taking place, they would show a robbery happening, and then for some reason just zoom in on a black person's face or a black person, just that subconscious in your mind and make you think, oh, okay, robbery, black person, okay, that's true, that's good. Or if it's a bombing that's happening or something, a bombing that's happening, they'll just zoom in on someone that's a Muslim, just say, oh, so a Muslim or an Asian, oh, just put that subconscious in your head now, oh, this is what happens, and this is what happens. Obviously for the refugees now.
Exactly. We're not biased here.
Or what?
No, man.
What do I want?
The point was when they zoom in on so that there'll be an explosion, and then they'll talk about someone on the next headline. Will be someone in I don't know, in Saudi Arabia. These people are shouting, and then they'll just record, and then they'll ask, well, what do you think? Between the bombing and the the Arab or whoever or the Muslim. Don't you think there's an actual link here? That's what they do.
They'll say it all the time, where they'll go, a Muslim person on, and the first thing it's mentioned is that he's Muslim. That's the first thing you know about them, and they show their face and stuff. As soon as it's a white guy, it's a extremist. He's a mentally ill person. He's extremely right wing. He's all these excuses, but not once does his religion or his race get brought into it until like the third or fourth word. It's Muslim guy bombs this, so that's basically that's the expected. And this is, do you know what? That's the advantage of this time with the internet. We've not got to rely on the media to tell us what to think, to believe that we grew up in a bit of a privileged society, where we can we meet multicultural people all the time. We grew up in areas where we realise that people aren't that, as you were saying, Femi, earlier, people aren't that. We've got way more in common than we have apart. But the people at the top, what they're doing is they're bailing out the big people, and they throw us a load of crumbs and go, you fight over these crumbs. There is enough money to go around for everybody, but they throw us the crumbs and expect us to go, oh, thank you so much, and fight against each other, because the more we're fighting against each other, the more we're not fighting them. And I think at this time, it's really, I'm actually quite proud that the internet is all on one side. The media is all, not media, but the people are all on one side. The truth with somebody having a camera phone and sticking it in the air and recording a police officer smacking another human that's just putting up a peace sign is not about left versus right. That is not right versus wrong. That is corruption versus this. So there's people from both sides coming out and going, this is the issue. And we're living in a time where if this was 20, 30 years ago, this would be nowhere near as extreme. And the only way you could be able to share this was if you tape it and then give it to somebody else. And especially with the time we're in now with COVID, you can't go down somebody's house and give them this information.
No, you can't.
It's really, it is quite, so I'm looking at a positive thing where we're seeing this, and again, this wouldn't have happened, but it needs to stop. And most people are on the side of they're seeing the reality that a lot of people don't see. And it's down to class. Like, some people live in gated communities where they don't see the outside, and they live in their little bubble, but they don't see the realities of people went to school with, actual bad things that are happening. Oh yeah, bad people should be prosecuted, riots should be prosecuted. Everybody understands that. Nobody wants people to steal, but it's why they're doing it, and what the issue is. And it's not just there's clashes and there's bad stuff happening because that's what people want to see. It's another point as well is that how many times we've sensed with our media and the way that we've consumed things, an act of somebody killing someone is turned into like it's like, I don't know how to say it now, pornographication of that. So he was shown again and again on television, I can't breathe, I can't do this, I can't do this, to try and wild us up, and it worked. But at the same time, it's turned into a sort of like they've made it into like it's a porn almost, and they've made it bad that they can use this and go, yeah, this is bad. But I'm like, yeah, but why have you got to show it again? Why is there any? I didn't really want to be fair, I didn't want to watch these images. I didn't want to see it, but it just kept coming up, and videos of responses and stuff that I was watching, they kept showing it, and I'm like, man, I have to watch it again now. And hearing him scream and saying I can't breathe, it's really horrible. It's really, because you feel it as just a human to it, as you were saying for me, human to a human. You just feel him going, look, I can't breathe, and the guy's not doing anything. Another thing, sorry guys, before I say something, You're saying that guy's going to be prosecuted. I think all 4. And the worst thing is for me, 2 of them are Asian. 2 of them are Asian. So I'm like,
I know.
It's not like a white on this. 2 of them were Asian, and I from me, and I'm going, oh my god, because they're part of the bloody same system as well. So it's not, and we're not having a go at all white police officers, all of this, or all of black people haven't done something wrong. We're not saying that at all. But I'm saying, looking at, I'm like, oh man, I'm so disappointed because this has happened to our community through after 9/11. There was an increase in attacks against like brown people and Asians, and especially recently with the COVID-19, people called it with Trump calling it a Chinese virus. There's been increases of attacks on Chinese Americans at the moment. So it's the same. Exactly. So again, it's an issue with the police, with the system, but to see that they were Asian and they didn't do anything. Just this guy is getting choked out, and they're standing there like, normal Friday. This is happening once again. That they're so used to that life that even the fire brigade, the woman in that photo was like, you need to get off him, and she's from the fire department. So it shows you that there are good people, and you were saying, Femi, there was videos online of police officers that are going out of their way and doing good stuff for that and being with the people. But the way they need to be a proper police officer is to call that out where they see it and say they are not representative of me and what and our police department, and we're going to do good, because there are definitely people that are marching with them that are doing it peacefully, that are police officers that protect and serve their communities perfectly.
I mean, bear in mind, we're not saying, obviously all police officers when we're saying, we're just saying that specific moment, or those moments that a colored or black person or Asian person or whoever who's been a victim or suffered or being murdered or killed because the police officer sees the color, and then the person asks them, look, why am I getting arrested? And then all of a sudden they bring out the gun, they shoot him. Oh, I think that they've got a gun in there. They can't see it. They haven't seen anything, but they just have this fear because of the way they see this person, because of how they look, that they might do something. They might have a bomb in there because he looks like a Muslim, or he's a black person. He might have a gun and he might actually shoot at me. Or they need to sort of try and put these rules out that whoever you're trying to arrest, or you are arresting because of obvious evidence is there, and everything supports what your action is, then okay. But if the person is on the floor and you got your knee on his neck, and the guy's calling out, I need to breathe, I can't breathe. Look, just take it off. That was all. It was only 1 second.
All he just needed to do.
The dude was in handcuffs. Where's he going?
Yeah.
Where's he going?
It was a subdued.
It's like
I know
footage, and I have seen it a few times as well, and I was like, what is this? This is not human. If some UFO came down from another planet and was doing that, I would say, okay, I get it. But this is you understand that the guy needs to breathe. Like, just take your knee. That's all it was.
Office. Yeah, that's all he just needed to do. But because that's what they're bad people, they're good people. Obviously, all 4 of those police officers, obviously they're of different races, and it's just like that. Bad people will go around the bad people. You go around with the people that think like you. And I feel like the only reason, if among those 4 police officers there was one good one among all of them, I'm sure that good one would probably be like, dude, he can't breathe. Get your leg off. But the thing is that people go with like-minded people. You follow the people that think like you. So all 4 of them, as you said, Neil, all 4 of them are most likely the same. They all think like that, and I feel like all four of them. It's not about their race. It's not about that. Oh, this one is white, this one is Asian, this one is black. No, it's more about just their personality, their way of thinking, and all 4 of them most likely think alike. For the fact that none of them was able to speak up and say, look, this is what you're doing is a bit, the guy can't breathe, get your legs off him, or try and at least make the situation a little bit better. The fact that none of them spoke up means that all of them think like that. All four of them
And they should be
think like
tried.
that.
They should be tried for it as well.
They should be, and what's the worst part is that they try to, obviously until now, they have managed to, I think they convicted, the guy is now the chief, or the police officer who had his knee on him. I don't know his full name, but I think it was Chevy. He's been mentioned that he's been some sort of degree murder, so he's definitely getting arrested for murder. But the other are sort of taken off duty, and they're not police officers anymore, and they've been
they should be.
But
for me, but for me, I feel like they should be accomplices, because
they were covering up and saying, oh no, he had health issues, that's why he died. He had the person had some sort of heart problems and all these situations that the police officer who stopped him from breathing didn't really do anything wrong. It was just that was having a lot of
so basically
they tried to make the victim look like the bad guy, and the police officers seemed like what he did wasn't wrong, and but the thing that I mean, I get that, but also when I was watching a video of Floyd, that he was trying to support black people to stop gun violence, things like that, and he had some quite good points. I mean, whatever he did, obviously at the day for the police officers to go and check him out or whatever. I mean, I don't know what was the reason for him being arrested on the day specifically, but apparently, he was questioning the police officer why I'm getting arrested or something like that, and that escalated to this situation that we are today. It's very depressing to see where we're at in this world. I mean, we don't need common sense. We don't need that. You just need to understand here. Okay, I get what you need. I'll give you need a drink of water. Okay, I'm going to give you a drink of water. We just need to be human. That's all it is. Bad guy, good guy, just be human. All right, and then we don't have to suffer murder or suffer in brutal ways like people have in the world. I mean, you've had gas killings, you've had chemical killings, you've had viruses going around, you've had these situations of cancer, and humans are suffering a lot of things at the moment. And 2020 has been a fucking shit year, man. I spent the year to 2000 rather than 2020. But what can you do? I mean, with the world we're living in right now is just awful, absolutely awful.
Yeah. And I just feel like everything, it's sort of unraveling. And I feel like what makes everything unravel, it's all began with the virus, with the virus. Because of that made the fact, and that just sort of like started a chain reaction. Because with the virus, people got locked down, people were losing their jobs, people didn't have enough money to feed. That was sort of just pushing people over to the edge. I'm sure you guys already said this already, and obviously it was pushing people over the edge, and also it gave people time to think. It gave people time to literally sit down and think of what's going on around them. And the fact that this, just within the span of few weeks, 3 people, the jogger one was killed, and then the Floyd one then happened again. It was like, yo, what's going on? And that sort of just obviously made people think that, yo, this is going to a point we need to obviously do something. And coming back to obviously when I watched the video, when I saw the video, I was getting pissed off, because it was to have someone cry for help, and to have someone even a grown man cry for his mom. I'm saying, and actually be calling out to his mom. Won't that trigger the fact that it didn't even trigger any sort of emotion with that I won't even say police officer, because a police officer, their job is supposed to be to protect the citizen, to protect citizens. That's their. So I won't even say police officer, because if I say that, then that's literally just branding all of them with the same brush. So, but what I'm gonna say is that the fact that this was calling out to his mom, was calling out and pleading for you, and the other person, the person inflicting the pain, could not feel something, or feel that, okay, this guy is pleading for his help. Let me at least, for the fact that we might put him in prison later, but let me just at least give him a bit of release, just for the moment that he had now. Let me remove my leg. The fact that he watched the video properly, he even applied more force. He even applied, when he was begging for his life and everything, he even applied more force. He put his hand in his pocket and leaned in a bit more, just to man, that was bad.
It's like a lion, how he treats a zebra before he eats him.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Actually disgusting. And
Wow.
that point that you also made, Femi, I think I don't know if it was recorded or not, before we started, about the bricks.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned
bricks,
that on here,
Yeah, we mentioned that they literally stacked the bricks too. I'm telling you, all this is it's a system. You know, imagine if we have, okay, every race, every ethnicity of every human, we take them to another planet. Babies, just newborn babies, take them to another planet and put the supplies there that they need to survive, and let them grow. Do you think there would be anything as racism? Do you think there would be anything? Obviously, they would fight. They would fight amongst each other. But do you think there will be such thing as racism? Personally, I don't think that, because there is no system that would force to have such thinking. There won't be a system that would teach one to be like, okay, you're better than that. So because you're better than that person, you need to treat them like shit. That system wouldn't exist. So all of them would grow up thinking that, oh, we're all just humans. We're going to have our arguments. We're going to have our differences, but we're all human. We're all humans. That's how they would grow up to believe and think. So it's just that everything going on now in our society is literally it's unraveling. And it's all unraveling because of just a single virus, just a virus coming in. It's literally making everything unravel. It's showing the true colors of the politicians. It's showing the true colors of the system that we're all in. It's showing the true colors of everything. And it's just a shame that, for me personally, I feel like, although all this protesting is going on, although everything is happening, it would be a miracle for a change to happen. It would be a miracle, because this is not the first time, and I definitely will be sure that this will not be the last time this will happen. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy. But anyway, do you guys, you were saying something about the leaks, the hacks that Anonymous did?
Right.
Did any of you research into that?
I've honestly not heard about that, no.
Yeah, I read some stuff like, for example, the Princess Diana situation was actually the fact that she was murdered by the family themselves. It was ordered, rather than just an accident, car accident. There were some American things that they released as well, but I didn't read too much into it, because I just understood that they had further hacks. They've had this virus. They've had what do you call it? The Black Lives Matter protests, and then you've got all this going on. The only good thing that probably happened in America, which that was some sort of positivity, was the two fellow astronauts who flew away from this planet.
Yeah.
So I was part.
Yeah.
Anyone would want to be here at this time.
I know. Definitely, I know they're just in there watching and just looking like, yo. Imagine when they come back and an asteroid has wiped the entire human.
You know, when they come back, you know, what's going to happen? You know, are we going to all turn into, like I was mentioned to Neil, you know, in the movie The Planet of the Apes, when they come back and, you know, the apes have taken control and there's this virus going on which makes humans stupid. I mean, you know, at the moment, you know, it does feel like we're going, you know, they might come back and, you know, the whole world has developed into a complete, I don't know, animals do control the earth in the future.
No, it's been a very, very strange year, a very strange one. Like, it's like the moment 2020 started, everything just went to shit. Like, it's like everything was waiting for 2020 to start. Like the moment 2020 started, yep, where everything just started going to shit, and it's a bit strange. It's a bit strange because they did mention that apparently an asteroid is actually on a trajectory to hitting the planet. Apparently, they're not sure if it's gonna hit, and apparently they said it's gonna. I think they said it's gonna go by the planet if we're lucky around. I'm not sure if it's either November or December later this year. So if we're lucky, it won't hit. If we're unlucky, it will hit. And
the one that
considering the luck,
saying exactly that, but it said that it was going to be happening in April. I think it was like near April 29th, but obviously that didn't happen. But I don't know if there's any further information that of another asteroid. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about these ones, but it's funny how the asteroid talk always happens. But you know what? I've read about, like, I think 95% of all asteroids, if they're coming towards us, Jupiter is set up in such a way that it's such a big planet in our solar system and the gravity's so big, it gets pulled into them and it hits them and becomes part of its surface. So, you know, Jupiter's got that massive crater in it.
All right.
That's actually an asteroid that was coming into our solar system. I think it was coming towards Earth. And that would have taken us out, but it was that big. It was, I don't know how many times bigger than Earth it was, but it was this massive thing, and it just went straight into the side of Jupiter and stayed and got pulled in there. So there are things that come in, but again, it's just all out of our control, and it's crazy, man. Just even that to a certain extent, but even that wouldn't be the weirdest thing that would happen this year if an asteroid came down to Earth. Do you know what I mean?
Because you know, like about the bees falling.
Yeah, man, it's a scary time, but do you know what? Yeah. At least we've got this information now that I think this has always been the case. This has always been the case to try and control us, but now we've got, I'll say, the internet. We've got people on the ground that are recording and telling the video evidence which can't be reckoned with. They can't say the police officers say, oh well, actually we didn't have him under duress. We placed him in a heart and he had a heart attack or something like that. You can see the evidence now. So even though good things have come from it, there is still a lot more to come. And the truth is inevitably, we've always said the truth will always come out. The truth between what's happening and what is actually going to happen with people like Anonymous and that are actually going out and leaking the news, and the truth is always going to be available to the people, but it's just time for everybody to get together and work as one. And this has made people realize all around the world that we need to work together. And I think that's going to be the case. There's police officers one side that are just doing their jobs, but there are people that are just leaving the police force, go, I just don't want to be a part of this anymore. I've seen it for so much. And a lot of the whistleblowers that are going out and saying this is happening in the police force have to leave in order, because they can't keep their job, because it's the blue protects blue and it's all this other stuff as well. So there's just a lot of stuff that is going on at the moment, but I'm quite glad we live in this time where there's so much happening that are what we call the norm has just been melted away with us staying at home all the time, whether we are seeing these things that we've known that have happening for a while, but it's coming to the forefront and people actually paying attention. There's been people like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange stuff that have been putting this information out there and nobody's done anything about them. So
Exactly.
and now they're actually doing things about them to protect, to serve this is wrong, and people are coming out in force, and the majority of people are on one side. And you know what? I tell you what, I can't remember the last time that's ever happened in human history, apart from potentially going to war. And again, that was something that happened overseas, where we've realised that was a bad idea. So that's the only thing that I can think at the moment that's really happening that I think is I won't say worth talking about, but that I'm grateful for in these times, because you have to find it. But at the same time, I was watching a couple of like news channels yesterday, and like some of like independent news channels, and looking at what they were saying, and I'm quite glad that we've got them independent news channels. That it was really hard to set one up quite like 20-30 years ago, but now we've got them, and they're actually saying, well, this has been coming. Some of the philosophers have been saying for a while now. Cornel West has been saying this is what happens when you strangle a community and you take everything out of it. They go, well, what we got nothing else, and so they have to reform, whether we like it or not. We're going to have to reform and restart again, and we got to burn this system to the ground, not literally, but the system that's currently happened, and start again from the ashes. You can either burn. I was listening to Killer Mike had a brilliant speech. He's such a love his activism, but he honestly went for 8 minutes off the top of his head and was like, "What are you going to do when you burn your house to the ground? What are you going to do? Because that's what's happening in your communities. People are burning their houses to the ground. So what then? You're going to rise up again, or you're going to? First of all, you shouldn't do it, but B, you need to realize that get together with people, find out what we can do. If these people that are in, like, for example, we've got the police commissioners we can vote for. If they are linked with any kind of racism or this, we vote them out. We do not vote for them. We do not give them our money and our power that way. And we form groups together to inspire positive change, because we can't have these people in charge of us at all.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But you just have to hope that with time, eventually, hopefully, change does happen. Change does happen, because if it doesn't, we're just gonna keep repeating the cycle over and over and over again, and it's something we can't keep doing. It's something we really can't keep doing, and we just have to hope, really. We just have to hope that not let division take off. That's what we just hope for. But yeah, I think we covered quite a fair bit of what's going on, and yeah. I also, you said, Neil, that that they're gonna start they're gonna do the Black Lives Matter protest in Leicester as well.
Yeah, so they're doing a peaceful protest they're doing it. I think they've done it in London today or yesterday, and they're doing it all over the country now in solidarity for these people that are going through this stuff, and knowing that this stuff also happens in the UK. So people are getting together. I don't, as much as I want to be a part of this, and I don't feel like it's a good idea to go out, to be perfectly honest, because we've got families and stuff, and things can turn violent. And I want to be there, but at the same time, it's not worth. I don't know. I feel like a hypocrite for saying this, but do you know what? At least by us doing, at least us doing this, we're doing our message out there. If people want to listen, they can listen. But yeah, it's a tough one. I'll give you that. It's a tough one, but I think all will work in the end. All will be all right in the end. But yeah, anything else to add to one?
Things happen. Fingers crossed this change.
Have you got anything to add to one?
Yeah, but basically, all I want to say is, hopefully, this situation with the protest, it becomes a victory rather than a defeat. When I say victory, I don't want any lives to be cost due to ethnicity, color, religion, or looks, or whatever you want to call it, rich, poor. I want everyone to be treated equally. And I don't want, the kids in the future to grow up and, be that police officer. I want them to be human. Don't look at them because of color. Don't look at them because of history. or person being bad or good. The person is human. All right, they need to be treated well, just like how people have this domestic animal abuse and things like that. There's, we don't want domestic human abuse. Okay, we want everything to be equal, to treated in good way, in good form, in good factor. We all can do good. We all can do bad. But let's just try and prevent that bad being existed. If someone gets angry at you, just be quiet with them. Calm them down. It's very simple. If someone's gonna try and fight you, just walk away. All right. There are actions you can do that can change the day of tomorrow. Just like that police officer. Just get off him. All right. Get off that guy. He needs to breathe some air. Get off and let tomorrow be a better day. That's all it had to be. But that's my message, for everyone listening.
Yeah, that was beautiful, man. I think we'll get to our regularly scheduled podcast, I think, from this Friday. But again, it was just something that we had to get off our chest today, and with what's going on, and we've been talking about it on our group chat that we've got going on. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and thank you all once again. Again, check out Friday. We'll continue where we left off on the next podcast. I think you'll really enjoy it. But from everybody here, stay safe. We're hoping for change, and we will see you all in the next podcast. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.